Hi, mate.
Hey man,
How
what's
you doing?
doing?
Right,
Yeah, I'm all right.
trucking along.
Well, yes, another frustrating day in front of the computer, mate.
Lies ahead.
Just, just another. I'm trying to do bloody marketing funnels at the moment. It's just fucking ridiculous.
Oh, really?
Mm,
You just
yep,
got.
it's wasting a lot of time.
Yeah, it's hideous, isn't it? Especially when you can't do it swiftly if you don't know what you're doing, and it's one of those skills that you
Yeah,
just.
no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, and if you don't use it a lot, then it feels a bit pointless, doesn't it? Learning it in a way, learning it, in depth.
Well, Monday, Tuesday, well, it's 3 days gone now. Just wasting it. Well, I don't know if it's wasted, but I've invested 3 days of my time trying to do it, and still not there.
Yeah. Well, let me just check. I'm totally not. I didn't have time to kind of get ready for the news this morning, but I'm presuming we're getting
I
a
thought you
drift of
headed in the right direction, mate, this time.
Yeah, finally. Yeah, finally sort of coming back a little bit, isn't it? But I could have done with getting getting another entry here. Really, I'm tempted to hedge it at this particular point, but because this is the thing, you sort of really want to get the hedge on at the right time when it starts to come back a bit, and this isn't a bad place to start hedging now, really.
Mm-hmm.
On this line, but I've got a funny feeling that we're gonna miss that Fed thing. I think what's happening, just quickly sort of like checking out the news. I think this is what's probably happening. We've had how did the pound work out in the end yesterday?
No, it hasn't moved, mate. It just
Oh, it
has
didn't
not
move in the
moved.
end.
It's gone up a little bit, but I didn't even get in a trade. It's going sideways in a hurry.
Right. We got Draghi out at 9:15, so that's going to hold things up a little bit. We have got this is the big one, I think, the CPI data. I think if that turns out to be better than expected, then the pressure on the Fed to raise interest rates is going to start to disappear a bit.
To cut interest rates.
Sorry, to cut interest rates, yeah.
Mm.
In actual fact, that needs to be a worse number, doesn't it? If they're cutting. So if that does end up being, because that's a pretty poor forecast, 0.7.
What are you reading?
Sorry, 0.7. Geez, I don't know. I'm not with it today at all.
Point
Point
seven will
1.
work.
Yeah, 0.1 is a pretty bad forecast. So if that does come in weaker than expected, then it's going to be tough for them to be raising interest rate. Sorry, to lowering interest rates.
Yeah, look, the Fed's the Fed, mate. I've got no idea. As I said, I've got this feeling that they won't cut, but it's a feeling. That's all it is. So it's not based on anything tangible.
Yeah. Well, that's where we're at really this morning. I think we could be playing the waiting game. I wouldn't mind finding out what's going on first. Even though I don't mind this level, I wouldn't mind this level for a little hedge. But I think it might be worth just allowing the picture to unfold first, and then seeing if it does actually come down a little bit further.
Yeah, I haven't got a whole lot. But yeah, look, I'm still bullish the pound, but gee, I'd like to have seen it move yesterday.
Yeah,
Really did nothing. Having said that, it put on 20 odd pips, but that's hardly exciting, really, is it?
it's
I
not.
guess it
No,
wiped out the day before. That's the one thing I can say.
that's what we got on the weekly. Now, if we can end the
Actually, when I
week.
look at the chart, it actually went up 60 pips from the bottom, but I wasn't counting from the bottom.
Oh, let's have a look.
Should we? Do we want to dare and try this? Let's
Oh, have
try
you
it.
still got a few issues there? Have you?
I don't know. I've upgraded Windows. I've done a few things. If it's going to happen, it'll happen now. Ready, set, go.
Well, this is what I just before we move on to that. This is what I'm looking at right now. There's an upper trend line here on the monthly. Oops, upper trend line here on the monthly, which we ran into yesterday and struggled to get through. Just got this little shooting star, and we got another one here. So I think there's enough kind of longer term information here to suggest that we're going to get something a bit deeper down here. And I still have to hold by the fact that this really is the first low, and I'm just looking really for that lower high on the monthly chart. So I still think that there's some longer term issues out in front of the FTSE. I wish I'd taken my trade here, which I was going to do yesterday, but because there's a bit, well, there wasn't that much in the market, but I resisted doing so. But I wish I hadn't done that now, because that's looking pretty good. But there could be another opportunity with this bar. It does suggest that maybe we do weaken today. Maybe a pop up to the daily pivot, and then we start to kind of see if there's some weakness there. But I think we could be in for a little bit of waiting while we wait for the CPI numbers and for Draghi. So probably won't do anything just yet this morning. I think we just got to be a bit more patient just for right now. But yeah, let's have a look at what you got, mate. And then the move down yesterday could have been down to those pound numbers. I was starting to see the FTSE move, and the pound just start to strengthen somewhat. Yeah, pound looks okay actually, doesn't it? Might well have just started to ease itself back up again.
I was expecting an explosion. I didn't get that.
What's interesting, you see, is that Mark Carney he's come out and said that there's no reason for them to wait for Brexit now before they start raising interest rates. So where the Fed is going in one direction, actually the UK may well start going in the opposite direction.
Interesting, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah, I think they're fed up of waiting, and they're probably got very little confidence that it's even going to be done by the 31st of October. So,
well, if that was the case, and Mike's brother, whatever his name was, Mr. Hunt, if he gets the nod, and they actually did raise interest rates, wow, that would make a massive difference.
Yeah, it would. I mean, we got there's another guy actually that has been he started his campaign yesterday, a guy called Rory Stewart, who I quite like, and he may well be a bit of a dark horse. I'm not sure if he'll win it this time, but he might shake things up a bit in the Tory leadership race, and it wouldn't surprise me to see Boris Johnson, actually not get through in the end, because we've actually got two new candidates that may well come out of nowhere. Well, Jeremy Hunt's maybe not completely coming out of nowhere, but certainly Rory Stewart is, and Rory Stewart, he campaigned for Remain as well. He's a very, very interesting character. So there could be some interesting moves with the political classes over here, and that may well shape things with the pound.
Yeah, look, I still got this issue with the bottom, or if you like, right shoulder over here that hasn't formed. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. It's really a tough one because we haven't moved far away from there, as I said. But it's very much a case of easing our way above this level rather than exploding. And I actually expected an explosion. I thought we'd really burst through here, but it just hasn't happened yet. So for that reason, I haven't changed my mind, but I would much prefer to have seen this attack the top of this range by now, and it just hasn't done that. I can't stand this sort of price action. It drives me absolutely round the bend.
Yeah,
it's no place for me to trade really. It's kind of wait until something happens and then go. So whilst I was advocating that this was
oh, we may well have lost you, mate. I know you're there.
Have you?
Yeah, you're
You
in.
lost me.
No, you're back.
Okay. Sorry, you didn't go too far. But now I see there's an issue with the offline feed. Anyway, whatever. As long as you can hear me, I guess something's going right. So yeah, look, we're kind of stuck, aren't we? We're landlocked here, and my best efforts to get this up to here are thus far falling on deaf ears. But yeah, I haven't changed my mind. I still think it's a buy, and we'll just have to wait and see on that. Oh, Aussie. I actually entered an Aussie trade this morning. Well, I only entered it like recently by the look of that. I haven't been keeping my eye on this because it's a daily chart that I'm trading. It was an interesting one, and every time I see this sort of thing where we've got a massive confluence area, I'm always looking for a price to tell me what's going to happen next, because it generally, from such an area, will move quite a distance. So I think this is one of those, but I've got no idea which direction it's going to go, to be absolutely frank. And I can make a case for both. You can see this bar here, which I think would be interesting to a lot of people once we've got above the monthly pivot, come back and retested it, albeit a small bar is a reversal bar. And I can imagine that you'd want to be going long at that point. The absolute opposite to what what I want to go, of course. And what I see here is a support trade line, it's a trend line as well, I suppose, where price has actually come below the monthly pivot, yet closed on the other side. I think we had exactly this scenario, a little bit different in terms of context, but had exactly this scenario on euro dollar, the one that we traded the other day. And I'll just refresh everybody's memory on that one. Different context because we are coming off the bottom here, and we had exactly the same scenario with the candle that I'm trading today on Aussie dollar. Turn it upside down. We had a high test bar close below the monthly pivot. If you go to today, we've got a low test bar close above the monthly pivot. So it's exactly the same in reverse. But I do like the fact that we've got a little retracement going on here. The trend is clearly bearish, and we've got a nice little retracement. We found the resistance level. I think this is a sell. So, to me, I think that's the right course of action. Got a TP1 around about here. And I've got a TP2 right there. Actually, that might be a little bit higher. Can't remember the exact level. Yeah, I might have put it there, I think. 69.25, I think was the handle. So yeah, I'm not going to leave this in the market for too long without taking profit if it does get below this trade line. And if it does get below this trade line, I'm pretty confident that we'll go to the bottom here. But that's kind of what I'm seeing on the Aussie, and I've absolutely, as I've said for many, many moons, absolutely no reason to think that the Aussie will rally at all. And the only thing is, as I said yesterday, that it does lag gold a little bit, and we haven't seen this rally on the Aussie. We've seen it in gold, but we haven't seen it on the Aussie. So maybe that is to come, or maybe we have seen it. A lot of maybes going on here, and not real keen when I get a lot of maybes. I'd like to see a lot of absolute positives, but the truth is, I'm absolutely not seeing that at this point in time. I'm still in Aussie Kiwi shorts. As I said yesterday, I was tempted to move my stops to here over the weekend, but I chose not to do that. I chose to leave them at entry, which is currently where they are. I think if we take out this high, I'm probably going to regret that decision. But at this point, I still see, again, I say, why would the Aussie rally? Kiwi had a bad day yesterday, and the Aussie didn't have such a great day, but a better day than the Kiwi, and that's why we saw a rally on this cross. Uh, Nothing to do here, really. It's just a matter of waiting it out, and if this does turn around and take out the lows, we're on our way again. If it doesn't, then we're probably going to hang around here for a little bit and death by 1,000 cuts or something like that. So again, we've taken profit twice on this. It's an only win situation. It's just a matter of how much, and that's why I'm a little bit, willing, I suppose, to give this plenty of breathing space, because I'd like to see a pretty good win here if we do actually manage to do that. Cool, man. Euro. Let's take a look at the good old euro. Similar to the pound yesterday, it was very much a case of didn't go too far. One thing here that was a bit of an issue, and had you taken this one earlier in the day, it looked for all intents and purposes, like it was a false break. That didn't pan out. Had you taken that trade, you would have regretted that. That's for sure. The one thing here that could have saved you, had you been thinking about that trade, is your risk was about 19 pips. You haven't even got 1-to-1 before you hit the weekly pivot, and that would have been an issue for you. Well, it would have been a savior for you had you taken that into consideration if you were thinking of trading it. What now is the question, of course, and I said yesterday the best way to play this for me was going to be a false break of that trade line. Well, that's still in play in many respects, although we have had, really we haven't. I'm still going to call that one break. So if we do get a double top here and then subsequently come back underneath this trade line, retest it from below, that's probably a trigger to go short. Am I willing to do that? Well, look, I don't have a problem with that, because the real issue here is that we're trending strong to the upside, and to change polarity on that, it only takes, pardon me, a reversal pattern, which is what we didn't have yesterday. That was the other thing. We didn't have a reversal pattern yesterday, and for me to trade counter trend, I need to see that. And as yet, that's still not here. We're starting to get into double top region. There's no question there. And once we get that, I still need to see a lower high. And if I don't see that, then this won't be tradable for me today. Could I trade it long? Yeah, I could, of course, but not from here. I'm just not going to jump into the market, right at the top here and say, what we do, let's go. And I'm not saying for 1 second it can't go, but what I am saying is too dangerous to trade here. So not for me. That won't be a thing. That's for sure. So the only way I'd trade the euro today at this point in time would be if we actually, I'll move this trade line to there. Would be if we do put in this double top, come back below here, put in the lower high, and then look to trade it short. That would be the only way I'd want to trade the euro today, and I'm quite willing to do that because I'm a little bit bearish on it. Not longer term, but medium to short term, I think the euro needs to come off a bit. That scenario there is very reminiscent of many false breaks that I've seen over many years, over many moons. So not saying it can't go, that definitely can go, but it does have a ceiling as far as I'm concerned in that 113.60. If that goes, then I'd definitely be expecting a retest of that. This is a very strong level. But at this point in time, I think I'm still with the get back below here, retest the confluence area and trade it short. That's where I'm at on the euro. What else have I got up my sleeve? Not a whole damn lot. Aussie yen, still interesting. If we go in a little bit tighter on Aussie yen, you can see that we have again look to break free of this box range. Yet not there. What am I waiting for here? Well, what I didn't get the first time, I suppose, is a re-entry into the box. And well, really, we did get that, didn't we? We got the higher low. Once we came back into the box, that's what I'm looking for a reversal bar. And we got that. Didn't go on with the job though, really. And at this point in time, what have we got? We've got a mess through here, really. I think I'll move that to start with. Maybe even bring that up there. Yeah, that'll do. That's a bit neater. That doesn't belong there. So that's becoming a little clearer for us. Widen out a little bit. Where's my thing gone? There it is. Okay, so it's pretty clear what I'd be looking for here. Too late to go short because we're right at this support level. If we were to get a retest here now, it's even no good for that because trading straight into these lows is not something that I would like to do. So I think the best case scenario is, again, an upside down version of what I'm looking for on the euro. And that would be consolidate here, back above here, retest, nice confluence area here. We've got the weekly pivot, got the daily pivot, got a support trade line. That would be the way I'd want to go. That would be completely counter my my bias on the Aussie, but bias doesn't make too much money. Trading does. And if I see that as a trade, then that's exactly what I will do. So that's probably Aussie yen. Uh, Euro pound we were talking about yesterday, weren't we? Has put in a double top now on the 4-hour chart.
Yeah, that might be the trick. Finally, we might get a trigger.
Yeah, maybe. Look, it's got to say, it probably has reached significant resistance. Let me just put that in. That's where it topped. And you can see
This is the
here.
thing. Draghi's very good at switching things up, and maybe this is the day he does it for the euro and the pound.
Could well be, mate. Gee whiz, it's overdue. There's no question about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 6th week of absolutely no respite for the pair. And if I just go a little bit wider, you can see how significant this level is that we have reached. It has been not so much on the near side of things or 2019, but you see it's been resistance through here many times throughout the last quarter of 2018 before we did break clear of it, shot back underneath it like a scalded rabbit, and really has been nowhere near there since. That's the beginning of the year, so it's taken almost 6 months to get back to that level, which, quite significant move. We're talking 500 odd pips in both directions. I don't see how we can't come off this level. It doesn't make sense to me to think we're not going to come off this level. So I was talking about the white line, or I should have been talking about the black one. You see it's been support here, and again, strong resistance through here, strong resistance here. I really am keen to trade a retracement here, mate. At the very least, a retracement. And if we can find that and a good reason so to do, then happy days, I'm in. So we do have a double top on the 4-hour chart. That's probably good enough for me to pay attention. And now we seem to be building in what may be a lower high. We really haven't taken out the low, of course, the previous. So we haven't got a lower low, but this lower high may be just enough. I can see an absolute profit level here in the weekly pivot. So I'll be paying attention here for the next little bit and see exactly what we can find. So we've got an entry there. We've got 25 odd pips. Our risk would be, yeah, it'll be okay. I'll be okay with that. And then I'd be looking for the monthly pivot probably as a target. So I think euro pounds are definitely on a watch list. I don't see a trade there right now, but it's working towards one. The other one, dollar yen. Dollar yen. Look, I've been waiting to get into this, and I think the opportunity was probably there, and I missed it. I keep missing dollar yen, and I think the reason is because of the time of day it happens. I'm sound asleep generally, and that's a Friday anyway, so I don't see it. Yeah, look, what I was waiting for on dollar yen was this level here and the confluence area, and looking for a short at that point. Maybe that's still on the case. It is a round figure. It's 109. So maybe that's still going to happen. If it doesn't, then, well, I've missed another wave. I've been missing dollar yen, very, very regularly, trying to get into it short. And maybe that was the bar. Maybe it was. I'm not saying it is. And I will still wait till we get up to here. If we don't, we finish up down here, then so be it. Gotta wait for a signal. It's just no point in saying, okay, I'm a bear and let's trade at market. You've got to have reason to do that, and so far I don't. So, mate, pinning the hopes still on the pounds. Aussie Kiwi is coming back at me, or not back at me, coming in the direction I want it to do, and the Aussie's taking its time to get me into profit on that daily chart. So, a few things happening, but not a whole lot of excitement, I've got to say.
Yeah, well, the markets have just opened up, and they're just holding firm at this 73.60 line, which I'll show you. I'm just listening.
Have you walked across the other side of the room? You're way off mic.
Oh, sorry, buddy. Is that better?
That's better, mate. Yep.
Okay, sorry. I'm just here listening to the news as well, just to sort of see if I can get a feel of what's moving this market. I have to say that there's not really a great deal which would suggest that further downside would come, and it is tempting to hedge it out here, but I might let this first 15 minutes pass just to see what the market decides here. But you can see that there's a level along here. Now this level doesn't look very significant on a 1 hour chart, just because there's some support there. But when we look at this on longer term time frames, which I will show you now, it kind of gives us a slightly different picture. But certainly on the daily, it looks like somewhere around about this level. It might be a little bit lower, but somewhere around about this level is an area that there is some support. So this bar is concerning, and this it's a sell zone. So I'm just not too keen to try and get my my long in play just yet. But I might be missing a trick. And in actual fact, the market is picking up right now, but I'm just not too keen right now just to go in. So I'm gonna hold fire just for right now. As I said before, I think Draghi's going to have a huge impact on the morning, and that's not for another hour and a quarter. We don't get Mario Draghi out and about, but the shorter term picture, the longer term picture is still a downtrend. The shorter term picture obviously is this explosive move to the upside, and this is a point that people are going to try and pick this up, particularly because as you always allude to, that these bars do tend to be areas where there are buy and sell orders either side of them, and I suppose that's what we've got really. We've probably got a load of sell orders just under here, and if it was to break, we probably would waterfall down fairly quickly. And the upside is the counter to that, where if it does trigger people in coming down, then that may well just provide a bit of liquidity for the bulls to kind of step it up again. Ramp up the move one more time and see if they can push this market higher. But it has actually opened fairly positively. We really are starting to fly off these levels now. But it's just a bit tricky to kind of get a really good feel of what the bias is in this market, because the Fed hasn't raised interest rates right now, so a lot of the moves to the upside has been on conjecture. And Donald Trump has almost been true to form and kind of come out and said that the euro is undervalued. So he's kind of got Europe in there in his sights. He's also got China back in his sights as well. But basically sort of like coming out and saying that if China don't meet him, then the deal will be off. And it seems like he's been probably ratified and maybe given some extra confidence through the fact that the Mexican deal supposedly has gone through with his tough line of negotiating. So the question is, will that embolden him to continue that tough line of rhetoric and slap the tariffs on China like he's saying. So it's a bit of a tricky one to read, because really what I'm always trying to do here is trying to figure out market sentiment, and certainly over the course of the Asian session, market sentiment was a little bit negative, which is why we pushed to the downside. But it may well be picking back up again. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. But I'm just going to wait for Draghi, and I am probably going to wait for CPI as well. That's the big number. As I say, the CPI data will probably have a greater bearing on the Fed, and it could be the reason that we've eased to the downside. Just as there's a bit more protectionism going into place here, with people not 100% sure what the Fed are going to do, then it may well provide that move to the downside. But the downside's been a bit of a drift. It hasn't been anything too explosive, but you can see that the market is picking up again here. So maybe what we've just had for the last day or so is a little bit of retracement rather than a switch in trend, and that really doesn't come until we do cross these levels. That this is a 4-hour chart, so that's much more likely to come if we break through this point rather than just drifting to the downside into this point. And there was another point I was going to make on that. Oh yeah, and obviously because of the daily bar. Daily bar is very interesting, and I'll tell you what else is quite interesting. And it's only Wednesday, so we got quite a way to go yet. But this will be very, very interesting if we get a weaker bar on the weekly chart. It's a tricky one to read with a weekly chart because this is incredibly bullish. We've got in this bullish engulfing bar here. If we were to get something of a shooting star and this does end up near the low end of its range, that would suggest that we may well be at a high here, and we're about to continue to ease back to the downside and maybe beyond. Maybe there is a chance that we do start to break through some of these levels, and the market does actually push back into this area. That is a possibility, as far-fetched as it certainly was seeming a few days ago. It is a possibility. So just need to let this market develop a little bit. Now we have to check the indicators just to see if we can get any further information, and the indicators are just telling us that what we have is a market which is just starting to tip now into the overbought region and just starting to kind of come down. So this suggests that it would need to have some unwinding here anyway. The indicator needs to unwind. Now, two ways that the indicators can unwind, and that is that it just goes sideways. The market goes sideways, and the indicator manages to get back to this 50% line. Now that's going to look pretty good. That's going to look pretty solid for the bulls out there. Or we could actually break this level, break the lows here while the indicators unwind, and obviously that's not going to look too good for the bulls. So I'm just really watching to see whether price action holds up in this area and the indicators just manage to kind of get back to the 50% level. And if that's the case, then I suspect we probably are going higher. But difficult, I have to say, mate. I probably should have taken a trade. I probably should have gone long. at the lows. But I've just got this overarching feel that the market is just too overblown here, and we're probably going to get something a bit more significant. So I'm just a little bit reticent to be going long right now, but looks like it may well end up counting against me, because we've had a fairly solid opening. You know, for a decent first 15 minutes, market continues to push higher. If it manages to close above this level, then it suggests that it's probably going to move even higher for the day.
But if not,
But if not, then as I say, two things are going to happen. We either meander down here, and the indicators start to unwind a bit, or we actually do collapse. Now, it doesn't look like there's much appetite for collapsing it, and you know, as I say, that the news wasn't really suggesting that there's a real driver to take us lower. I think there's probably a little bit of nervousness out here, but that doesn't usually manifest itself in the out and out fear. If there's something in the background that could negate why the nervousness is happening, and that really does come back down to the Fed. You know, the Feds have said that they would, the Fed are intimating that there would be some easing in policy, and if the Fed do ease, then that's probably going to be market positive. Certainly initially, it'll certainly give us a bit of a sugar rush. But the big question is, you know, the Fed using all their tools, does that really will it have enough impact? Will it have enough impact with all the other stuff that's going on? You know, if Donald Trump really does take on Europe, which it sounds like, as I say, he sounds pretty emboldened right now. He sounds pretty confident that the tactic that he used with Mexico is the right type of tactic, and that's very, very aggressive as he is. The question really was, would other countries and other regions go out of his sights for a little while? But they don't seem to be doing that, and he really has come out and said some pretty strong things against China. And as I say, it sounds to me like he feels fairly emboldened and fairly confident that he's got the
just
strategy. Yeah, he's got the right strategy. This is going to be really fascinating, because Donald Trump is effectively saying that China made a deal and they should not renege on that deal. They're not allowed to renege on that deal. They've made the deal and they have to follow through with that deal. So he's fairly strong in his rhetoric.
That's how he sees it. Did they make the deal? You know,
well, we don't know.
Anything.
We don't know. We you know, he's yeah, that's exactly that. The way he sees it is that they've reneged on it. The question really comes down to how much of a powerhouse do China really feel that they are? Because if China really sort of like feel that they are the big nation now, then why wouldn't they go toe to toe? If they don't, then this could be quite significant in their standing, because if they bow down to America, and it could be tactical, you know, they may end up bowing down to America, but will it kind of go down that well at home? You know, some of this stuff does become a little bit political as well. So, you know, if they don't manage to get the deal, then will that be down to China just saying, you know what, we're big enough to take you on, and all we really need is some other countries to do our deals with. We don't need you. And China are probably putting things in place already. They're pretty they're pretty industrious. So you know, if they have got enough things in place, they can do some Huawei deals as well. You know, that's what was one of the main reasons that the market did start to weaken, and Donald Trump's tariffs kind of came into play because of the whole Huawei situation. So can they do some deals with Huawei with some other countries? It doesn't appear at this stage that the UK is in a position to not do a deal with them. But again, the UK may end up being a bit of a pawn in this, just as other countries are. You know, Donald Trump is effectively saying it's us or China.
I guess it depends a lot on what the tech boys say. You know, if the tech boys say that you know, 5G can be contained or controlled or secured, then maybe Huawei have got a way in just about anywhere except the States. But you know, the same thing's happening in Australia. You know, they're not allowed access in Australia either.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The tech boys have got to work that out.
Was that their own Was that of their own making in Australia, or were they put under pressure by Trump as well?
Oh, look, I think they did it before.
Right.
I'm not 100% on that, but you know, we're very much a follower of America. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
I think we've also got a little bit of savvy in a lot of different areas, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
So security is high on the agenda for
Yeah.
obvious reasons here, because we've got a lot of border and very few people. So you know
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
rely heavily on assistance to
Yeah.
maintain our security.
Yeah. Well, that's one country that he's got on side, but I think he's going to try and put enough pressure on everybody else as well. And this is the thing, Donald Trump is quite happy to bribe all the other countries by basically, coming out and saying that any deals that he's got with them will be off if they deal with China. And I think that's pretty much what he's doing. He seems pretty confident and comfortable with Silicon Valley. He's kind of come out and talked up the Silicon Valley boys and said that they don't need China, and that they have enough geniuses and clever people to kind of take on the tech giants of China. And it seems to me that he's trying to embolden the Western economies to fight against China. But that wouldn't be a good tactic if certainly from a UK's perspective, let's say, it wouldn't be a very sensible proposition if you go against a country which is growing, and it is growing incredibly quickly, and may well end up being the most important economic power within the next 10 to 20 years. You could really burn some bridges. So um, especially with Brexit and everything else going on, I think the UK is probably in a very bad place. But Donald Trump's done his rounds, hasn't he? He's kind of gone everywhere to all the corners of the world to try and garner some more support, and it appears at this stage that he's got that support. Um, so
Yeah, I wonder what people say behind his back when he's gone. Really,
oh, I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't be pleasant. I'm sure it wouldn't be very. If there was a fly on the wall, that fly probably would have his ears
yeah,
burnt with some of the
absolutely.
things said about him. But I suppose what people are waiting for is to see whether they can do a deal, because nobody
Yeah,
wants
they're still the
China. And
biggest economy at this point in time. So you can't ignore that.
no,
It's something that just can't say, "Well, go away, Donald."
no,
It's
this
not
is the
that simple.
thing. This is the thing, and I suppose people are waiting to see whether, if there is a deal done, whether they can effectively deal with both parties, because that's what they want. Nobody wants to not be dealing with China and America and have to choose from one economy to the other. I think that um, they're quite keen to continue to grow their economy by doing deals with the two largest ones, but it might end up that you fall on one side or the other. And I have to say, at this stage, from knowing what trade is out there, I think the UK would be pretty foolish to go with America. If you had to choose, of course, then it'd be pretty foolish to go with America, because what America seems to want to do, and China are no different in some regards, but what America seems to want to do is get in and nick the NHS from under the UK taxpayers' feet. And that's one of the only major things that the UK has left. It's one of the only major things that the UK government has left. And if America want to come in and do a deal, which, considering we're leaving the EU, we need to do with somebody, then the NHS sounds like it may well be part of that deal. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens there. Of course, China have come in and tried to take the energy market from the UK as well. So they're both basically at it, but I think it could be a very difficult choice for the next PM if they come in and have to choose between dealing with America or dealing with the United States.
Yeah, there's lots of things to happen, isn't there? Once we get over Brexit, there's still plenty of irons in the fire. There's stuff that can move these markets very rapidly
Yeah,
and dramatically.
yeah,
So whilst we're look, and I keep saying, I can't wait till Brexit's over because of the uncertainty that it has created over the past 2 years or more now.
yeah,
Um, and I stand by that, of course, but we've, just that scenario that you've just painted there for us, or the picture you've just painted there for us, is interesting, yes, but it's also scary,
Yeah.
because if we are forced to choose, that's going to create incredible tension.
Yes.
Incredible tension.
Yes,
And
but the states are quite happy to take it on, aren't they? Especially with Donald Trump in charge. He's effectively, he's not
well,
just taking
because
on China.
nothing can
Obviously,
hurt them, you see.
he's taken on Russia as
They
well.
live
And
in
I this he doesn't seem to mind who he's fighting with.
no, they live in this bubble. They think they're indestructible. See,
Mm,
and that's, if you've got a leader that's got that sort of mentality, and every single one of them have, they, it's the world according to whoever the president is at the moment.
yeah,
Nothing else counts. Nothing happens outside of America. It's only, they're so focused on their own importance. I think,
yeah,
they believe that the world is I don't want to say owing them something, but the world needs to follow suit with whatever they come up with in
yeah,
terms of policy,
yeah,
you know. And when other people when other countries don't see that way, what do you mean you don't see that way?
yeah,
Well, then we'll fight you for it.
yeah.
That's the
Absolutely,
way.
yeah, yeah. Well, we've got
So
not a very convincing close, it has to be said, but I think that there'll probably be enough bulls out there, cheered by the fact that we have closed above this trend line, and the buying may well start. Not for my taste, I have to say. I think that there's probably just about enough negativity in this bar to suggest that this battle isn't yet done. So I'm not going to step in here. I think we've got gold as well as a bit of a barometer, showing that we have actually started to move back in positive territory with gold, which does suggest that there may well be just a bit of protection being put into place here as the nervousness continues. Um, but it's bubbling. This is the thing that we really haven't got any meat on the bones today. Everything is just
yeah, same here.
bubbling, and that's why it makes it trickier to make a choice. There's not really kind of there's not really any positive whisperings, which oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes just suggests quite a choppy market, and that could be what the course of the day holds until we get something really to kind of hang our hat on, and maybe Draghi does that. Maybe Draghi kind of helps things out a little bit. It certainly at this particular stage looks like people are going to be trying to buy into the Draghi press conference. Obviously, things can turn fairly fast, but at this stage, it looks like they're buying into the Draghi press conference. Question of whether they'll also buy into CPI data release as well is out there. But it looks like it could be a little bit tenuous, at least up until 1:30 UK, because of the releases and the press conferences that are out today. So I think maybe another day just to kind of step aside for the morning and let the market tell us what's going on. But just a little bit less just a little bit less liquidity in the trading is going on right now, and the bulls have got to be a little bit more concerned, because when you see this lack of liquidity, it could suggest. Now obviously we've also got these pivots up here which could provide the resistance point. Let me just bring the pivots into play. This may well provide the resistance point up at this stage, bringing us right back down to the neckline again. But yeah, the bulls have got to be a little bit nervous, because with a lack of liquidity, it could be that the bears are just lying in wait, and they could push the market down fairly fast. But as I say, there's still some ways to go here. I'm just having a look along here as well. Well, it looks like there's a little bit of a trend line break there. Yeah, you see, I think that if there is going to be some bearish price action, it may well start at the daily pivot by the looks of it. So a few twists and turns, mate, but the main thing is we just need to hold fire and wait on this and see what turns up.
Okay, I got some new candles. I suppose I should have a wander around the grounds and see what's going on.
Yeah, let's have a check,
And
mate. Let's have a check. You know, I may well end up taking a I may well end up selling this. So yeah, you go ahead and do that. I'm
okay,
just going to
yeah,
wait and see if we get a daily pivot test, and I might well sell this at the daily pivot. I probably will actually sell this at the daily pivot. So I'm looking for around about another 10 pips, and then I'm looking to go short.
okay. Well, I might go around the grounds and come back to you, and then if you have decided to go, we'll go, and if not, then I think we'll go.
Great.
Not a whole lot else happening, I don't think. Righto. Let's see if this new version of Windows is going to allow me to go fault free for the rest of the session. And bingo, it looks like it's working. Very good. Let's start with the pound. The pound is just trying and trying and trying. It's like the little engine, steam engine. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. But so far, unable
Oh, I know that
to.
book.
Do you?
Yeah, the little red train.
That's him. Yeah. Yep. Takes me back a bit, I've got to say.
Oh, do
That's a
you know
lot of
that
years.
one? Well, that wasn't. You didn't read that when you were a kid, did you?
Oh my God, yes,
Did you?
absolutely.
Was it around that then? Was it?
Well, I actually didn't read it. It was, I think, it was a cartoon or something like that on the telly.
And then you get this evil train, and he won't help
Oh
but
no,
push it.
actually, no. I remember my mother reading that to me. Yeah.
Yeah,
God, yeah.
you get the nasty train, right?
Oh, I don't remember anything nasty.
Is it full of
I
toys?
remember the
Is the
good
train
bits.
full of toys?
Oh, this must be the modern version, is it?
I don't know. There's a little red train, and she's carrying these toys up this mountain, and or is it just a red train and carrying? Yeah, yeah. It's a red train carrying toys up a mountain, and she can't get up there, and she asks this train, this big locomotive, to help, and he refuses. He said, "I'm not going to help you." Um, and then this little female train turns up, very small one, and she helps push the toys up because she thinks
Oh,
she
that
can.
sounds familiar. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, mate, that's awesome. I read that to my daughter.
yeah. There you go. Well, read the first in. Is it a little golden book?
It's a book with a big red train on the front of it.
Okay, well, have a look when it was first published. When you read it
I
again,
will. Yeah, I will. We haven't read it for a little
and
while actually.
I think you'll probably find it's pre 1960.
Wow. Okay.
But I could be wrong. But I certainly remember a little red engine trying to go up a hill. But
Oh,
I
funny.
think I can. I think I can.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So that's where I got that from, anyway. But that's that resistance level we spoke of before, and it's going to struggle to get through here. There's no question. But if it does, look out. Again, I think this is poised to explode. The pound. I can't enter again here. That's been my concern. I really haven't found a way to scale back into this. That was the candle there, really, to scale back in, but I didn't manage to do that. So nothing, no harm done. We'll see exactly how that pans out. Really, the best way to trade this is to let it break free of the neckline, take out the monthly pivot, then come back and get the second move. That's going to be the best way to trade this, to be fair. I just hope that opportunity arises when the time comes. So that's cable. The 30-minute chart not offering an opportunity at this point in time, I don't believe. There was probably the hint of this could go with a break and retest of the trade line, which is a trend line as well. But trading into this high is not a good thing. And you can see we're struggling at the moment to do that. There's every chance that this could come back under here and then retest from below. And then you've got the pivots in play. So this is no fait accompli. This is going to shoot up here right now. That's for sure. Aussie Kiwi, yeah, look, I can understand why you'd want to be trading this long at the moment. A very small candle, albeit, but also hasn't really tested the daily pivot, and uh, I don't see any inclination for me to trade this long right now. Would I be interested later? Oh, a bit of water's got to go under the bridge before I would, but you're probably looking at something like this if this becomes a low, and it's not a low yet. So break here, consolidate back above, retest, yes. But as I say, a lot of water to go under the bridge before that happens. And as I said, this is not yet a low. So use your imagination on that one. The Aussie, look, one of two ways here again. You can see it's trying to get back above this confluence of monthly pivot and support trade line. If it were to do that and come back and retest that confluence area, that would not be a good sign for my short. But then again, where does it go to is the next question. There's still a lot of resistance above it. There's this trade line. There's the daily pivot. There's the bottom of the range. So I'm quite comfortable to maintain the bearish position. I would like to see this candle fail again to get above the monthly pivot. That would be good. But I also see this level here, so I'm not concerned that the short on the daily chart has or is in any danger at this point. So we'll maintain our raids there on that one to the short side. If you're keen on trading this long, and I know the flavour of the month is to trade Aussie dollar long for whatever reason, I can't think of why, but I know there's a lot of people talking it up. Allow this to break, maybe even get above the daily pivot, then come back and retest everything. Daily pivot, resistance trend line, support trend line. That would be a definite bullish scenario. So if that were to be the case, and I'll just draw it, and I can't draw that in for you, I've got a pen. Up here, retest everything long. That would be a pretty cool trade. Pound yen. Look, I was keen on trading this earlier in the day. Maybe I'm still am. Let me have a look and see what's happened since. Bugger all. But really, if you zoom in on that, what is actually occurring is the failure of price to get back below this trend line. Let me take away. You can see how we're trapped in between trend lines here, but I'll get rid of that one because it's nowhere near as strong, and go to the one that's in question, which is this one here. You can see that we're struggling to get back above it. And if I go again tighter, that's very evident that we're getting far harder to get below it than it was above it. So it's interesting when you look at the two time frames. The daily, struggling to get above it. The 4 hour, struggling to get below it. Interesting. So what we have to do then is, well, exactly where does this trend line belong? And the answer is it belongs on a 4 hour chart, not a daily chart. So let's get rid of that one to take away all confusion. We trade it as a 4 hour chart. And the interesting part here is we pulled back off it, we broke it, and we cannot get back underneath it. Now we're at the bottom of this range, a confluence area, or very, very close to it. I'd be very keen to trade this long, pound yen. How is the question? I don't have any way to trade this long off this chart unless I were to go back to this candle here and place a long targeting here, certainly as a take profit level, maybe even the monthly pivot as a target. That looks far more interesting than I had considered. I wanted to go long this morning, but I just couldn't find a reason to do so.
So that's the pound yen, is it?
Pound yen, yeah. I still can't find a reason to go long.
Do you know what? Yesterday's news was actually very, very significant because of what Mark Carney, said. and with the numbers as they were, those numbers actually could be, as I say, a lot more significant than just the numbers themselves.
The very bad. Oh, sorry. I'm talking about Monday. Monday were shockers.
Monday was
Which numbers?
shocking, yeah.
Which numbers yesterday?
So we had average earnings from the
Oh,
UK.
wages, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And because Mark Carney's kind of, he said that there won't be
Okay.
necessarily waiting for Brexit. I will just bring that back up. Yeah, average earnings at 3.1. That's, it's starting to break well above CPI. So even though it wouldn't be from a huge standpoint, does that push us into 1%? I think it does.
I don't know. But the interesting part about that is if you do go back to Monday and go to the daily chart, as I will, pound, let me go to cable. If you go back to Monday, and we saw, as I said yesterday, I'll go a little bit tighter on this. We saw the emotive reaction, which, understandably was extremely bearish. But we came off the bottom pretty dramatically. And yesterday's bar engulfed that. So back to tours, before that, that horrendous set of news or set of data, we were pretty much on a tear on pound,
Yeah.
on cable, and the data has pushed us back. But again, I say, it came back off its lows very, very quickly, and here we are again. This looks extremely bullish to me, I've got to say. And we've got a tweezer bottom, even a bullish engulfing bar, if you want to call it that, and a lower high. A higher low.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you be bullish this cross right now? So I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can make a very good argument to be a pound bull right now. So yeah, leave that one where it is, I suppose. And therefore, pound yen, is appealing, but I just can't find a way in here. Maybe a bit later in the day, we might have to wait for. I don't know. I think by the time we've heard Draghi speak, it'll be, and the pound will be drawn into whatever Draghi says. There's no question.
Absolutely. Well, certainly against the euro. I mean, but yeah, potentially as well.
There's a carry on.
Yeah, this is the thing. You see, if Draghi says something negative, and with what we know about what Mark Carney's kind of suggesting, then that could well be a play versus the euro.
Yeah, well, let's go back to that, shall we, and see if there's a way to get in. And we've already got what we need. We've got the double top. We've got a big bearish engulfing bar that's been carried on with. We haven't got a lower low yet, and that's the issue, I suppose. It's the only issue. But we certainly have a lower high. In fact, we've got a couple of lower highs. And you can see what the market seems to be readying itself for that particular scenario. This may not be a bad posse, mate, to take. May not be. I'd like to see this low taken out, I must say, but okay. I don't have a trade there at the moment, but what I would say, this is the hourly chart I'm looking at. There's a very clear take profit area below us. So let's look at this scenario. Let's say that was a low test bar. That was a low test bar. I'd be willing to take it. Put the stop above the swing and take profit here. It'd be a quick take profit, but it's about 50% of your risk, so it's not so bad. and then target here. That doesn't seem so silly to me.
No, so.
But I need to see this pull back, and we've got about 12 minutes to do that. If it doesn't, and we get a subsequent candle, the next candle is a bullish bar, I think I'd still be willing to take that trade. But you don't want this to go any further because you don't want to trade into this. Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, it is. You don't want to trade in the low of the day without profit. That's a dangerous thing. So, yeah, I think there's probably a way, mate, but we need a little bit of help from price.
Yeah. Well, that is a head and shoulders there, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. There's a few ways to look at this, actually. There may be other opportunities to trade this short. Probably the better way is to get above here, consolidate back underneath everything and retest it. You know, there's a big confluence there. That would be a way to go as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of liking that.
Oh, well, we found something.
Yep, there's a plan. The worst case scenario is it just goes bang and goes the weekly pivot now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a problem, isn't it, when you got a press conference out that it's probably likely to move fairly fast, you know, on little comments. I'm sure people have got robots that are just basically programmed to pick up certain words.
Yep.
Which makes it very difficult to trade that.
So we're now, what, 25 minutes away?
40 minutes away. No, sorry, it's 9:15, is it?
That's what it says in my my thing.
Okay, yeah, 25, and then yeah.
Well, you can see what the market is trying to do. It's trying to position itself for that, I think. All right, mate. I don't think I've got anything else.
No, me neither, mate. Me neither. I think we can.
I'm pretty clear.
Yeah, me too. The FTSE's actually just pushed back to the downside, so not giving us an entry, but that's okay. So if it continues to come down, that's not a problem at all. I think CPI is going to be very, very interesting, but that would be my advice to everybody. Just watch that CPI data, check out what it says. If it suggests that there is not no room for the dovish comments to actually come to play, then we might actually see this market continue to move down today, and gold probably push higher, or potentially push higher. So yeah, let's see what happens. But certainly, I think gold moving higher does suggest that there is some protection going on anyway.
Is it at the moment? Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's in play. All right, babe. Well, we'll be back same trade time, same trade channel tomorrow. So let's bid you bon bouche and see you then.
We had a win today. We didn't crash at all. So
yeah, pretty good.
The upgraded windows must have been the trick.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. All right, well, let's hope it continues tomorrow.
Yeah, I won't count my chickens yet. But
all right, mate.
Looking good at the moment.
Brilliant stuff. All right, dude.
All right, mate. Take care.
All right. Enjoy. See you later. See you guys.